Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm a Central Texas gardener in Zone 8B, and I wanted to ask you, have you ever had a garden season not go as planned? In today's video, I wanted to give you a tour of what my garden looks like in all this triple-digit heat here in Texas, but I also wanted to share what my garden has taught me about being resilient. I hope you guys enjoy it. So I want to start off with these giant zinnias, and I believe they're called California giants. And I literally just bought up a seed packet and put them down in the spring. We've had a lot of rain, so the rainwater just helped them germinate, and they really have taken off once our spring rains have stopped. And these get about, I think, 4 feet. You can see how tall these are, and it's just a mixed color variety here. And zinnias love the heat, although I do understand that they require some degree of regular watering, so I will probably have to be out here at least once a week if we haven't had any rains. And so, but these are so fun, and I'm just loving the really vibrant colors. I wanted to step back to this plant here. This is a plateau goldeneye, and this is a Texas native that gets about 3 to 6 feet. Really doesn't look like much right now, just kind of a giant green bush, but it's a fall bloomer. And I purchased this at the Nectar Bar in San Antonio. And what I wanted to do with purchasing this plant was extend my nectar sources for our pollinators through the fall. And this is a really great option for that. It blooms with these yellow daisy-like blooms, and it gets, like I said, about 3 to 6 feet. I think it gets taller the more shade it gets. So coming around here, you can see I've got some mealy blue sages, and these are just such a workhorse in my garden. I've got them everywhere. They really seem to tolerate the heat very well with very little supplemental watering once established. These are Texas natives. I don't know if you can see all the pollinator activity out here, but they're usually covered with all sorts of bees and things. And so they can get pretty big, and they readily reseed themselves, so they can get a little bit aggressive. So you do want to give them a little bit of room when you put them in. Along the front here, I've got some Russian sage, and this is my first season with Russian sage. And these are very drought tolerant plants, and they've kind of got that more dusky purple color to them. This is a pink thouroughwort. I also purchased this from the Nectar Bar in San Antonio. Doesn't look like much because it is a fall bloomer, and so this should be covered with pink blooms in the fall. This can get quite tall, up to 6 feet, and so another really great option to extend nectar sources for your pollinators in the fall. Coming along here, I really am loving this plant. This is a coral nymph salvia, and it's kind of got these little tubular blossoms that hummingbirds really love, and so I see them out here in the morning and evenings all the time. It is sometimes I guess an annual, but yeah, sometimes it'll make it through the winter. I've got a little volunteer down here that I'm excited about, so it seems happy because it's already reseeded itself. So I got a free plant, which is always a bonus. If you look along the edges here, you're gonna see I've got a bunch of these Katie's ruellia Mexican petunias. They're like a dwarf Mexican petunia, and you can see I've got so many volunteers. I've got one there, I've got one there, I've got some here, and so in the fall I'm gonna move some of them around so that I can kind of create a seamless border along this edge here. But I would tell you that's been one of the things I've learned through this garden season. If stuff is readily reseeding itself and thriving, it's a good sign you've got it in a good spot, and so you want to replicate that as much as possible. This is a agastache. It's called Tutti Frutti, and when I first put this in, my dog kept attacking it, so I had to put a little protective cage around it, but I've taken that off and it is thriving. I've not watered this as of yet. It's got a lot of supplemental water through our very rainy spring, but it smells really good and it's super pretty. And I don't know how tall this will get, but you can see it's about waist tall so far. Coming along here is my pineapple guava, and you can see it's sort of splayed here. It's kind of spread a little bit. I've got several stems here, and this is a tall shrub to small tree that gets about 15 by 15 feet. Flowers beautifully in the spring and offers some really nice fruits. It is an evergreen and very, very deer resistant. And so I'm so excited that I have this here now. So I don't know if you can see all of these butterflies, but they are all over this Gregg's mistflower here. And this is an absolute butterfly magnet. This mistflower gets about 2 feet in height, so it's a shorter variety of mistflower. Some of them can get quite large though, but it is thriving here and it is always covered with butterflies. Here is my zexmenia, and this is probably, it's like top 3 for my favorite Texas drought tolerant but high performing flowering plants. It is so pretty. It's about, I'd say 2.5 feet by 3 feet in width, and it has just started to reseed itself. I don't know if you guys can see this. I've got a volunteer here and here. I've got another one here. And what that's telling me is that this plant really likes this area. And so one of the other things I'm learning about creating a resilient garden is not to force things, but watch what naturally thrives in an area and just let it ride. Because I've got another plant here. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a golden groundsel, and you can see it's not doing great. It's a Texas native, very beautiful plant, but it has medium to high water needs. And I thought by putting it at the base of this sort of slope that it would get that, but I'm not really doing a lot of watering over here, so it has a high water need. These other plants don't, and so I've not zoned it very well. So ideally you want to, when creating a resilient garden, you want to group plants that have similar water needs together. So I will either have to move this or let it go, but I'm not going to try to keep it alive because it's going to take a lot more water than I really want to expend in this area. Instead, I'm going to let some of those volunteer zexmenia just take over this area. And this Gregg's mistflower is a really aggressive spreader as well. So I'll let that sort of naturally fill in since these plants are already thriving. Coming along here, this is I love this tree so much. It's a goldenball leadtree, and it blooms through the spring and summer, although it's not doing a lot of blooming right now. I've got all these seed pods on it, but it has these little yellow puffball blooms. It's kind of a small tree, can get up to 25 feet, but usually shorter than that. The wood is very delicate and brittle, so if you plant one of these, you kind of need to shelter it from heavy winds because the branches might break. But it's a really fun tree, needs very well draining soil to thrive though. And then as you see here, I've got more mealy sages in this area. And then, excuse all of my weeds. I've got a sedge problem and I've got a spurge problem, and I need to get out here and pull that stuff up. But amidst all that, you can see I've got this Texas lantana, which is our native lantana. You have to be careful with lantana. Some of it can be invasive if it's not the right variety. So, but this is our native, and it can spread quite a bit, 5 to 6 feet in width, and sometimes that in height as well. I've got some coneflowers here. This is their first season in this area. I've got one here and one that's not flowering yet. But I feel like I've done better when my coneflowers have just a little bit of afternoon shade. They seem to thrive a bit better than being out in the full sun all day long. But this is gomphrena, and it's a special cultivar with these little purple flowers. I can't remember what they're called. I'll look it up and put it in the video. But absolutely thrive on heat. These were just so tiny just a few weeks ago, and now they are just getting really well established. And it is hot, and I have not been watering these. They may be catching a little water from the sprinkler system when it does run. This is another beautiful, beautiful Texas native, very drought tolerant. It's called a desert willow, and you can see those beautiful pink flowers. And the hotter it gets, it seems like the more blooms there are on it. It's got these slender little leaves here. It is deciduous, so it'll drop its leaves in the winter time, but huge hummingbird magnet for my garden, and I've really enjoyed this. Going down here underneath the Texas or the desert willow, I've got some volunteer zinnias that I'm not doing anything with. They just popped up on their own. And then I've got these wine cups that I think these are wine cups. I threw seeds down this spring, really not expecting much, but I think they took. I've got a lantana here that is flowering, and then I've got a couple of volunteer rock roses here, and then I've got another one here, and then here is the rock rose. And this is it's got a very good spread, about, I would say, 4 by 4 feet. It's got these beautiful pink flowers. The flowers are very short-lived, but prolific, to the point where you can see I've got these volunteers everywhere. This stayed evergreen for me through the winter, so really potentially you've got all year seasonal interest, but does really well in the heat. In the afternoon, the flowers kind of tend to wilt and the leaves sort of wilt, but it's just doing what it needs to do. It'll pop back up. I've not been watering this, and so excellent workhorse in a very hot Texas garden. Down here I've got some gomphrena, and this I just threw some, I think I started this from transplants, but these are also annuals. These are annuals that thrive in our heat, and they're just kind of fun. You can kind of cut them and use them as cut flowers. In the middle, you'll notice this space. I had a beautiful rosemary plant, but this area here actually catches a lot of water and is where a lot of my like rainwater sort of drains to. And so I just think it got too wet for that rosemary, so it died. And so, but my rock rose is doing great, and so is my autumn sage. It's doing excellent. So another really great workhorse, and this is evergreen for the most part in warmer zones. Flowers is evergreen and is drought tolerant, so you can't beat that. Down here I've got another great Texas annual. This is a prairie, I think it's an annual. I don't know if it's a perennial. This is a prairie verbena, and very drought tolerant, just doing its thing. I've not done anything. I got this as for free at a plant swap, so it's very happy in this for the most part full sun spot. And then coming along here is my vegetable garden. You might be wondering what this is. I mean, you may have figured it out. It's a shade structure that I built. If you watch all the way through the end of the video, I'll be sure to put a link at the end of the video. So if you're interested in creating this on your own, it was not hard at all. You can watch that. So I've got, I think I'm always picking them off here, but you can see all these little cucumbers that are just coming up. I've got a bigger one here but it seems like it's like cucumber surprise every morning. I think there's nothing out here, and then there's like 10. And so I've been learning, oh, here's a big one right here. Like, where did that come from? So I've learned how to can pickles, and so I've been at that. And then behind me here, this is my A-frame, and I've learned that when you make an A-frame, you need to use heavier duty bamboo, not the skinny stuff that you see here. So I'll do that next year. These are pole beans, and they're flowering, but they are not producing any beans, and I just think it's too hot. And so I'm hoping that when the temps finally cool down, that we'll start getting a bit of a production here. So if you know anything about pole beans, let me know what you think could be going on. Over here I have this is sweet potato, and then buried in the middle of it I have a pepper plant. So will it thrive? Will it survive? I don't know, but he's in there. I've got a Meyer lemon plant, and I've got several lemons on it. You can see them here. And then I've got a orange. This is a Satsuma orange, and I only got like 2 oranges on here. And these I'll have to keep in containers because it is going to get too cold for them in the winter. And so I'll have to bring them in. But it's my first year with these, and we haven't eaten anything yet, but it's pretty fun. So my garden has taught me that it's more of a marathon than a sprint, and that resiliency has more to do with getting back up after getting knocked down rather than having a perfect outcome every time. So hang in there. You've gained valuable information from your garden, mistakes even, and you can use that stuff to have a better growing season next season. And until the next video, y'all take care.